What is up, posse? DJ Wolfdog here, and I hope you're all having a wonderful start to your new year of 2017 so far. I sure am, and to be honest, I'm really looking forward to this year. There's a lot of good movies coming out, a lot of cool events that are happening. It's all just going to be absolutely amazing. So I thought I'd start off 2017 with something I've never done before here on the channel, a top 10 list. And I'm going to do something different than, my top 10 favorite movies or my top 10 least favorite movies, but I'll get to those at another time. This top 10 list is going to be a little bit special, considering that a third movie is coming out, Beauty and the Beast. Sorry, allergies. But anyway, this is going to be my top 10 most memorable Disney villains. These are the villains that I feel like stood out to me the most, whether it be their presence, or what powers they have, or just anything about them in general. Now, if you have any of your favorites, or if you disagree with me on this list, then that's fine. It does not mean you're a terrible person at all. Well, these are just the top 10 villains that just stood out to me the most, whether they be animated or live action at all. So, here we go. Sit back and enjoy my personal top 10 most memorable Disney villains. Now, I like Hades for a few certain reasons. One could be the design of his is very impressive, or the voice actor himself, James Wood, is very good as well. He gives some good comical moments, and he can also be pretty threatening with his very intimidating voice. But overall, I think Hades is a pretty good villain, considering he's based on an actual Greek god from mythology, the god of the underworld. But I'd say he's portrayed well, and he's designed well, and overall, he gets a pretty good laugh every now and then. And to be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing him again in another movie. Ursula from The Little Mermaid. How would I describe her? Deceptive. That would be a good way to put it. Excuse me. Yes, she's deceptive, she's cunning, she'll pretty much manipulate you into doing what she wants, and what you think will benefit yourself, but will only benefit her in the process. And of course, we can't forget her unforgettable song, Poor Unfortunate Souls, from the movie, where, spoiler alert, Ariel gives her voice away just so she could become human. But yeah, Ursula is a lot of fun. Her voice is good, but also threatening. Oh, you poor unfortunate souls. Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like her, but I do my best impressions as much as possible. And I like her motivation as well, when she also disguises herself as a human and tries to steal Prince Eric away from Ariel, so that way she doesn't stand a chance. And also so she could get, Trident's powers and all that stuff. But overall, Ursula is a pretty threatening villain, I'm not going to lie. And if they do make a live-action Little Mermaid, I'm curious to see what they can do with Ursula. Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so if you take a look at Gaston from the start, you would think that he would be the hero in the movie, when really the roles are switched and it's the Beast that's the hero and Gaston is the villain. That, in my opinion, is a great twist of fate. Because you have this big, strapping young man who the girls just fondle over. But he only has the hots for Belle. and he does whatever he can to try to make him his wife. And every time Belle turns him down, it just enrages him more. And when he finds out that she's protecting the Beast due to her love for him, that just enrages Gaston even more, and it makes him want to go out and kill the Beast. Now, I'm curious to see what Luke Evans can bring to this performance for Beauty and the Beast, and I will give you my review of it eventually when the movie comes out. But I say that Gaston is pretty memorable for his looks, his design, his acting, and his overall his song Gaston, where everybody's just singing on how great he is, and how they want to be like him, how all the guys want to be like him, and all the women want to be with him. But I'd say that this is definitely one of my favorite villains of all the time, because ironically, he's not the hero, he's the villain, like I said before. And overall, he can definitely be a really good character. Frollo is another definition of a cunning bad guy, like Ursula would be. However, in this version, in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, he uses his power to manipulate and to seize control of the church. He wants to make people think that the gypsies are bad, and he tries to hide Quasimodo, make him feel like that he's a monster, and that he's ugly, and that the world will hate him for his looks. But then Esmeralda comes in, and she helps him out. But then Frollo comes in, he's enraged, and all of a sudden he has the hots for Esmeralda? Or something? I don't know. I'm not gonna get too much into it. In fact, I don't even want to know what that's like. Ugh. And of course, who could forget Frollo's song Hellfire, which definitely proves that Disney did have the balls to go dark. And I'm sure they still do, but they probably just don't go as much as they used to, like when they made movies like Inside Out, or Big Hero 6, or something like that. Stuff like that. But overall, Frollo is the perfect definition of a dark character. He brings in the dark definition of Disney, or went back in the quote-unquote dark ages of Disney. And he's quite different from than he was in the book. Yes, there was a book in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which I won't go into too much detail, because you'll probably have to read it for yourself to see why they decided to go with the movie version and not to go to the way of the book. But I will say this, that in the book, Frollo was a minister. However, in the movie, he's a judge who, and I'm quoting this from the Bells of Notre Dame song, who wants to purge the world of vice and sin, and he saw corruption everywhere, except within. Okay, so I know it's a big cliche to have The Lion King on this list, but come on, it's one of the biggest Disney movies of all time. How could you not put it on this list? But yeah, Scar is definitely a great, iconic villain. He's the definition of a Shakespearean villain, considering that this is somewhat like the Shakespeare play Hamlet. I like his motivation, where he wants to kill. He was actually in front of or behind Mufasa to be next in line for the throne until Simba was born, and that just made Scar even angrier. And considering that he was so close to getting the throne, then he came up with the plan to kill Mufasa and then have Simba be blamed for it. And that way nobody would be in his way. So that way he can take control of Pride Rock, and well, if you've seen The Lion King, you pretty much know what happens. And I like how he has the control of an entire hyena army at his disposal. Oh, and then all the lions fight back with the Hans Zimmer music, and it was just absolutely amazing. And I like his song "Be Prepared," which definitely sends chills down your spine. Okay, not technically really, but it's enough to get you a bit of a tingly feeling, and not the good way. And of course, who could forget Jeremy Irons, who we all know and love as possibly the man who can do a lot of cool voices. In fact, I'd say his biggest role hit was possibly as Alfred from Batman v Superman. Yeah, I know a lot of you have mixed reviews about that. So a lot of you like it, some of you don't like it, but overall, I think Jeremy Irons did a really good job as Alfred, in my opinion. But I think that Jeremy Irons can do just about anything in a role. I think he's a really good actor. And I say he knocked it out of the park as Scar. Definitely, it's definitely a favorite of mine, The Lion King. But to be honest, I'm not really looking forward to the live-action Lion King, ever since it's been confirmed that director Jon Favreau is going to direct it. But who knows? It may be alright. So this third villain doesn't have any powers. She's not like a queen or anything, but she is definitely, arguably one of the most iconic villains that Disney has ever brought out. By making Cinderella feel like that she's responsible for her dad leaving, and that she makes her do all the work while her and her stepsisters, or while she and the stepsisters are just having the time of their lives. And when they're invited to the ball and Cinderella is not, that gives them a pretty good opportunity to, make sure that she doesn't go at all. Even though she got herself a dress made up, but even though it was completely destroyed at Lady Tremaine's command. But overall, Lady Tremaine is, I'd say, another intimidating villain. Just by that stare, you can feel the goosebumps, and I can feel goosebumps even though I'm wearing a sweater here. But I'd say that she's the most fun whenever she's with Lucifer the cat. Because that just makes her look like possibly the most threatening, well, I wouldn't say the most threatening, but I'd say a villain that you should definitely be afraid of. Because she's so shrouded in mystery that you're supposed to feel no sorrow for. And she does everything she can to make sure that her and the stepsisters are given the best treatment possible. Therefore, they try to spoil Cinderella's plans to go to the ball, and when she was asked to have on the glass slipper when the prince is looking for Cinderella. But Lady Tremaine is overall very good, and she was okay in the live-action remake, but in my opinion, not as good as the original. Alright, now we are getting into the good stuff here. Number 4 with Jafar from Aladdin. Now this is definitely another villain that I would be afraid of. Because, one, he uses magic, and he uses it at his disposal. For the climax, he turns into a snake, and then he uses the genie's power to turn him into a genie, which, ultimately occurs in his downfall. And he basically uses all this to manipulate Aladdin into going into the Cave of Wonders just to get the lamp, but then he painfully fails miserably. Then he tries to hypnotize the Sultan to get him to marry Jasmine, and just so he could... He's basically doing all this just so he could take over the Sultan's palace. It's kind of generic, but other than that, it's pretty fun as well. And Jonathan Freeman, who I think is an underrated voice actor. In fact, he also did played Jafar in the Broadway version of Aladdin, which I thought was really cool. But I say the best part about Jafar is just his presence. Like, just the figure, shape, and design of him, it just makes you think, even as a kid, you would think this guy is bad news, and he definitely is. But he is, without a doubt, a threatening villain. He's got the powers, he's got the charm, he's got just the manipulative power that, basically he can get anybody to do what he wants and to be his servants. He's just overall a really fun villain, and I enjoyed him in both the Broadway version and in the movie, and okay, I don't really want to see a live-action remake. Okay, if you see this, Disney, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, please! No! It's a cliche to have the evil queen from Snow White on here as well, but she's actually the first Disney villain to ever be brought to the big screen, considering Snow White came in the 30s. And she wanted to be the fairest of them all, but it turns out Snow White was actually kind of beat her to the punch, actually. So she hired a bounty hunter to go get her, but he couldn't do it because she was too attractive. And then she turns herself into a witch, gives her a poison apple, she passes out, or is presumed dead, and then the prince comes, kisses her, and she wakes up, they live happily ever after, and then the evil queen / witch falls to her death, in possibly the most dark and gruesome way possible. When the dwarves are trying to get to her, but she's trying to use like a stick and push a boulder onto her, but it actually backfires and she actually falls off from the cliff, and they then cut to two vultures who were just... Yeah, it was just pretty dark and gruesome, and even as a kid I thought that was pretty insane and scary of what Disney was able to do. I also like the Queen's voice. This is, in my opinion, one of the, if not the most threatening voices of all time, if you give an anime character. She is, she has the power, she's like the queen of this faraway land, and she wants to do everything she can to make sure that she's, you know, the top of the chain, and nobody else is close to being related to her. But I'd say that overall, final conclusions about the evil queen / witch, that the switching personalities from the queen to the witch by using her dark magic, it was a pretty cool, considering that this was still in the kind of light but dark ages of Disney, sort of, not really, yeah, but you get the point. Overall, evil queen, great villain, and I'm kind of curious to see if they can do something with her in live action. Alright, another cliched villain to have on here, but okay, just hear me out. Okay, I take back about what I said about Evil Queen being the most threatening villain. I'd say that the Maleficent is by far, her voice is by far the most threatening voice you can give to an animated character. And her design is very impressive as well. So, considering she uses dark magic, and she has a green face, and she has the pointed hat, and overall she can turn into a dragon. How could you not beat a dragon? Okay, technically Prince Philip did at the end, but we'll get to Disney Heroes another time. But Maleficent is very high on this list. But overall, she's a lot of fun to watch. I wasn't too impressed with Angelina Jolie's performance in Maleficent's own movie. And overall, Sleeping Beauty was kind of a corny movie, but in a good way. I mean, it had some bright moments, but also had its dark moments from when Maleficent tricks Aurora into touching the spindle wheel on the spinning wheel, and then she will fall into a deep sleep, or she'll die. And until Prince Philip, kisses her and wakes her up, as cliched as it would be, since it happened in Snow White before. And of course, you can't forget about possibly Maleficent's most famous little line. Well, one of her two famous lines. First was when she placed the curse on Aurora in the first place at the very beginning of the movie. And next when she says to the prince, "Now you will deal with me and all the powers of hell." And then you know the rest. Alright guys, this is it. We have reached the final pick for this top 10 list. Now, here is the number one Disney villain, most memorable Disney villain. Drum roll, please. Okay, so basically Chernabog doesn't have any lines. He's just given a really threatening design, and he's only been in scene for just a few minutes in Fantasia, considering Fantasia is just a bunch of stories mixed together. But Chernabog is definitely the definition of the devil, the Lord of all evil. He brings up an army from the dead to terrorize this small village, up until the light comes in, scares him away, and he just goes, and he goes back into hiding on Bald Mountain. And even as a kid, I thought that the design of him was very threatening, even though I honestly wasn't too scared by him. Okay, I might go into that another time, maybe not. But Chernabog, I'd say, deserves to be on the top of this list because, I don't know, he's possibly the most threatening, even though he has no lines. His design is beyond amazing. And overall, he can pretty much do a lot when you terrorize a small town. No, it's not like, oh, I want money, I want fame, I want Pizza Hut. Okay, I'm sorry about that. But Chernabog is definitely a fun, well, he's not fun, he's more downright intimidating, and a lot of people would agree that he's definitely the scariest villain in Disney movie history. And that just about does it for this top 10 list. Stay tuned for another time when I do my top 10 favorite movies of all time and my top 10 least favorite movies of all time. It's all going to happen so quickly, and I really don't have a lot of time before I go back to school, so my videos will be limited once again. So, until next time, see you later, Posse, and have a great start to your new year.